Breakfast is supposed to be the meal that sets you up for a good day. But for millions of adults over 50, it is doing exactly the opposite, and most of them have no idea. They are eating what they have always eaten, what they were told was healthy, what the package says is good for them. And yet by mid-morning, their energy crashes, their focus fades, their hunger returns faster than it should, and their blood sugar has already been on a roller coaster before lunchtime has even arrived. If your mornings feel harder than they should, if you feel hungry again just an hour or two after eating, if that mid-morning brain fog is something you have just accepted as normal, today's video may change the way you think about the very first meal of your day. Because there is one mistake that comes up again and again in the morning routines of adults over 50. It is not about eating too much. It is not about skipping breakfast. And it might not be what you expect. This is True Well Prime, and today we are going to walk through what that mistake is, why it matters so much after 50, and what to do instead. Let us get into it. First, let us talk about why breakfast carries such particular weight for blood sugar health after 50. When you wake up in the morning, your body has been fasting for 7, 8, 9 hours or more. During that time, your liver has been releasing stored glucose to keep your brain and organs functioning. Your cortisol levels naturally peak in the early morning hours as part of your body's wake-up process. And as we have discussed in previous videos, the dawn effect means that blood sugar is already trending upward before you take your first bite. So you are starting the morning with blood sugar already in motion, already rising. And the first thing you eat either helps your body find its balance, or it pushes that already rising glucose even higher. After 50, insulin sensitivity is often reduced. The pancreas may not respond as quickly or as precisely as it once did. Recovery from a blood sugar spike takes longer, and the consequences of that spike, the crash that follows, the fatigue, the hunger, the brain fog, are felt more intensely and for a longer period of time. This means that what you choose to eat first thing in the morning has an outsized effect on how the rest of your day unfolds, more so than at any other meal. And yet most adults over 50 are making one specific mistake at breakfast that sets a difficult pattern in motion from the very first hour of the day. So what is that mistake? It is eating a breakfast that is high in refined carbohydrates and low in protein. That is it. That is the number one mistake. And it is hiding in plain sight in the most common breakfast foods in America. Think about what a typical morning looks like for many adults. A bowl of cereal with low-fat milk, a couple of slices of toast with jam, a bagel with a little cream cheese, a glass of orange juice or a sweetened coffee drink, oatmeal made with honey and dried fruit, a muffin grabbed on the way out the door, pancakes or waffles on the weekend with maple syrup. These are familiar. They are convenient. They have been marketed as wholesome and nutritious for decades. And for many people, they genuinely feel like a reasonable, even healthy way to start the day. But here is what they have in common. They are almost entirely carbohydrate-based. They are digested quickly. They cause a rapid and significant rise in blood sugar. And most of them contain very little protein, very little healthy fat, and very little fiber to slow that rise down. For a 50, 60, or 70-year-old body that is already dealing with reduced insulin sensitivity and a naturally rising morning glucose level, this kind of breakfast is like pouring fuel onto a fire that is already burning. Let us walk through what actually happens in the body when you eat this way in the morning. You sit down to a bowl of cereal or a couple of slices of toast. Within 20 to 30 minutes, those refined carbohydrates have been broken down into glucose and are entering your bloodstream rapidly. Blood sugar rises quickly. Your pancreas, already working against the backdrop of the morning cortisol surge and the dawn effect, scrambles to release enough insulin to manage the spike. Because insulin sensitivity is reduced after 50, the pancreas often has to work harder and release more insulin than it ideally should. That larger insulin response then drives blood sugar down, sometimes down further than is comfortable. And that drop, arriving somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes after your breakfast, is what produces that familiar mid-morning crash. Suddenly you are tired. You cannot think clearly. You feel irritable or flat, and you are hungry again, even though you ate not long ago. So you reach for something, often another carbohydrate, because the body is craving quick fuel, and the cycle begins again. This pattern, repeated morning after morning, month after month, places a significant and cumulative burden on your metabolic system. It is one of the quiet contributors to the blood sugar instability that so many adults over 50 are struggling with, often without connecting it back to their breakfast bowl. Now let us talk about what to do instead, because the solution is not complicated, and it does not require giving up breakfast or eating foods you dislike. The shift is simple. Lead with protein. Protein is the most important thing you can add to your morning meal to support healthy blood sugar. Here is why. Protein slows the digestion of everything else you eat alongside it. It blunts the rise in blood sugar that carbohydrates would otherwise cause. It triggers a feeling of fullness and satisfaction that lasts for hours, not minutes. And unlike carbohydrates, protein does not cause a significant blood sugar response on its own. When you begin your morning with a meaningful amount of protein, the entire metabolic picture of your morning changes. Blood sugar rises more gently. Insulin responds more proportionately. The crash is smaller or does not happen at all. And your energy, focus, and appetite stay far more stable through the late morning and into the afternoon. What does a protein-forward breakfast look like in practice? It looks like eggs, prepared however you enjoy them. It looks like Greek yogurt, plain and unsweetened, with a few berries and a sprinkle of nuts. It looks like smoked salmon with some avocado, cottage cheese with sliced vegetables, a small portion of leftover chicken or turkey from dinner the night before. Even a well-formulated protein smoothie made with whole food ingredients can work well for mornings when time is short. The goal is to aim for somewhere between 20 and 30 grams of protein at breakfast. That amount is enough to meaningfully change how your body handles the rest of the meal and how your blood sugar behaves for the hours that follow. Alongside protein, fiber and healthy fat are your two closest allies at breakfast. Fiber, found in vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, and some whole grains, slows glucose absorption in a very direct and measurable way. It forms a kind of buffer in the digestive tract that prevents glucose from entering the bloodstream too quickly. Adding vegetables to your eggs, or seeds to your yogurt, or choosing a small portion of a high-fiber whole grain alongside your protein makes a meaningful difference. Healthy fats, found in eggs, avocado, nuts, olive oil, and full-fat dairy, also slow digestion and contribute to lasting satiety. They help keep blood sugar more stable in the hours after eating. And unlike the low-fat dietary advice that dominated for decades, current metabolic research suggests that healthy fats at breakfast are not something to fear. For adults over 50 focused on blood sugar support, they are genuinely helpful. What to reduce at breakfast, not necessarily eliminate, but reduce, are the refined and quickly digested carbohydrates. Sweetened cereals, white bread, pastries, fruit juice, flavored yogurts with added sugar, and sweetened coffee drinks. These are the foods most likely to spike blood sugar rapidly and set off that mid-morning crash. If you love oatmeal, choosing steel-cut oats over instant, keeping the portion moderate, and pairing it with eggs or nut butter makes it a very different metabolic experience than a large bowl of instant oatmeal eaten alone. There is one more piece of the breakfast picture that is worth addressing directly, and that is the habit of skipping breakfast entirely. Some adults over 50 find that they are simply not hungry in the morning, and they skip breakfast without thinking much about it. For some people, in some circumstances, this can work. But for many adults managing blood sugar, skipping breakfast means that the cortisol surge of the morning and the rising glucose that comes with it go unaddressed for hours. The body continues running on stress hormones and liver glucose, and by the time lunch arrives, blood sugar may already be dysregulated, appetite is often harder to manage, and the choices made at that first meal tend to be less careful. For most adults over 50 focused on supporting healthy blood sugar, a balanced, protein-forward breakfast eaten within 1 to 2 hours of waking tends to produce better outcomes through the day than skipping the meal entirely. Now, a word about nutritional support. Because even when breakfast choices improve, the underlying machinery of blood sugar regulation can still use reinforcement. After 50, the body often lacks sufficient levels of certain nutrients that directly support how glucose is processed in the morning. Chromium helps insulin work more efficiently at the cellular level. Magnesium supports the enzymatic processes involved in glucose metabolism and is commonly deficient in older adults. Berberine has been studied for its role in supporting healthy blood sugar levels following meals. Alpha-lipoic acid supports cellular energy metabolism, and certain B vitamins are essential cofactors in the pathways that help the body process carbohydrates cleanly. Getting all of these through food alone is genuinely difficult, particularly after 50, when absorption efficiency declines. Some adults find that incorporating a well-designed daily formula that brings these key nutrients together provides a reliable foundation that works alongside improved breakfast habits rather than replacing them. If you would like to explore what that kind of nutritional support looks like and what others in a similar situation have found helpful, there is a resource in the description below where you can learn more at your own pace. Before we close, the important reminder. This video is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any health condition. Please speak with your healthcare provider about your individual situation, especially if you are currently managing blood sugar concerns or taking any related medications. Here is what I want you to carry with you from today. Breakfast is not just a meal. For adults over 50, it is a metabolic signal. It tells your body what kind of day it is going to have. And the most common morning mistake, leading with refined carbohydrates and skipping meaningful protein, sends a signal that creates hours of instability, fatigue, and hunger that most people have simply accepted as normal. It does not have to be normal. A different breakfast, one built around protein, supported by fiber and healthy fat, with refined carbohydrates reduced rather than eliminated, can change how your mornings feel. How your energy holds through the late morning, how clearly you think, how stable your appetite stays until lunch. You do not have to overhaul everything at once. Start tomorrow. Look at what you currently eat for breakfast and ask one simple question. Where is the protein? Add it. Build from there. Your mornings are worth getting right, and your body, at any age, will respond when you give it what it needs. Thank you for being here with TrueWell Prime. Have a wonderful morning tomorrow.